The process of wealth building takes a lot of time. It's no news that in recent times, many people are looking for the shortest and the fastest way to make wealth. So I always tell many people that there are no shortcuts to building wealth. In fact, it may not be very realistic for the average person to build wealth very quickly. Unless, of course, you are considering options like speculations, you win a lottery, or you get an inheritance. Now, even with those ones, there's no guarantee that you can build wealth, because you tend to see some people that have these things and then waste it because they don't have the ability to manage it for wealth building purposes. So ideally, if you want to build wealth, you have to chart a very clear path or direction towards the long-term objective of achieving your desired wealth. Now, the quicker you are able to save and invest, the faster your money will be able to compound, and that really is the true secret of building wealth. In this video, I'll be telling you about 6 things you must do to build wealth today. If you're not doing it, you need to start as soon as possible. Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. This is Ebuka the Finance Wiz. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome to the channel. I want you to sit tight and listen, and if you get a lot of insight and value from this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. If you have watched any of my previous video or you're an existing follower, thank you, and please click on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my subsequent videos I'll be dropping. So the first thing you need to do to build wealth is what I call having a clear goal that is driven by the right mindset. Now, I tell people that success is very predictable. There are certain things you need to do before you can actually chart the path that you want to. Now, the first thing is you need to be clear about the vision and goal. What do you want to achieve in the long term? Are you looking to make $1 million, $10 million, and so on? What are you really trying to achieve? Now, I see a lot of people that don't even believe in the concept of financial independence or building wealth overall. So that's why I'm starting from this point, which is for you to believe in your abilities to build wealth over time. Now, it's not enough for you to set out plans. Just like any other business that you set up, you have a business plan, but you need to implement those plans. So you have a plan that clearly shows what your vision is down the line, what your mission, or how you want to get to that point. You need to be clear on what you need to do. Now, that's why we have budgets. You need to have a spelled out budget that identifies your cost heads and how you can save and so on. And most importantly, then you have to work towards achieving those things. The other thing that's also neglected under this area is continuous development or continuous improvement. Now, you have to perform frequent check-in to know if you're still in line with your plan or you're deviating from your plan, just to ensure you correct as soon as possible. Now, the second focal point is what I call saving. Now, you cannot begin any kind of wealth generation plan if you don't have any sort of savings to invest. As soon as you start generating income or making funds or making money, the first thing you need to put at the back of your mind is to save. You need to save as frequently as possible. Typically, I always recommend people use an automated saving approach, which requires that certain amount is deducted from your main funds account into a savings account on a periodic basis. Now, what this does for you is that it reduces the temptation for you to back out of savings in a certain month and just ensures there's some sort of consistency across board. So I've established a savings tracker, which you can see from here. Now, this savings tracker is supposed to help you to save towards a certain target. For instance, in this case, I'm using the $20,000 savings, 52-week $20,000 savings challenge. Here, you can see how much you need to save literally every week in order to achieve $20,000 by the end of the year. Now, this is a very simple thing that you can do. All you need to do is check the box. As you can see, some boxes have been checked for the months, for the weeks I've already saved for. Now, if you want this template, just type share in the comments below, and I'm going to send this over to you so that you can use for your own savings tracker. So the third technique which you need to adopt is you need to have a stronghold of your debts. Now, debt could be good or bad. You just need to be able to differentiate between both of them. So you might be wondering what bad debts are. So bad debts are simply debts that just does not generate any sort of returns on your investment or does not give you an opportunity for a potential increase or appreciation from what you use the funds to do. An example of good debts could be like the school loans, it could be a mortgage loans, or even a car loan in the event that you're using the car for income generation purposes such as rideshare, delivery businesses, and so on. So bad debts, on the other hand, could be funds that you typically use for means or purposes which you cannot recoup in any form. For instance, your credit card debt, which you are unable to pay back, could end up becoming a bad debt for you. Now, don't get me wrong, credit cards are amazing forms of finance because it gives a timeline when you can borrow funds without having to pay any sort of interest. In fact, you can actually get reward points from using your credit cards. However, where it goes wrong is when it gets past the statement date and you're unable to make the payments that are due or you've borrowed from the cards. Now that becomes a terrible bad debt. Now, something you need to remember is that credit card debts are one of the most expensive forms of finance for anyone. It costs about 19 to 25 or even more percent on your outstanding balance, which is a whole lot of funds to pay off every month. So I always recommend that people make full payment on your credit card. For me personally, I don't make just the minimum payment. I ensure to put 100% of whatever amount I use the credit card for every month. The other thing I always recommend to people is please avoid payday lenders. Now these guys charge a whole lot of interest on whatever amount you're going to borrow. Now this becomes really expensive. So if you truly are serious about building wealth, you need to avoid these things I've mentioned earlier. Very important. So the third factor you need to build wealth is increasing your income sources. Now there are many ways you can actually generate income. For instance, if you have a 9-to-5 job, you earn income, you can actually assess your salary from time to time and determine if it's in line with market rate. Be confident enough to renegotiate your salary if you think it is below par or below the market rate, and in extreme cases you can also consider changing jobs if the need arises. The other thing is having a side hustle or passive income. Now everyone has 24 hours in a day, of which you have limited hours to work. Now if you want to make the best use of your day and you want to generate wealth, you need to be able to learn how to leverage. Now, the power of leveraging is simply saying that I can make much more money than the average person would in a typical 12 to 24 hour day. So the other option is self-employment. Now you can actually own a business, you can actually buy a business or start a business from the scratch. If you look at my previous videos, you see how I provided guidance if you want to buy a business, the platforms where you want to buy a business, and I'm going to link it here so you can also click on it if you want to watch that. So self-employment is actually a means to generate income for yourself as an individual. So the next thing you need to do is have an emergency fund. I see a lot of people that take the risk of not having an emergency fund. Now the purpose of an emergency fund is to set a certain amount aside in the event of an unexpected happening or occurrence that would eat up into your finances or your funds or your savings. Now, the essence of doing this is so that it doesn't prevent you from going with your conventional investment or your normal savings for the month. Now, it is recommended, I would say the rule of thumb is for you to save about 3 to 6 months emergency funds in a certain account. I always recommend you put that money in a high interest savings account. Please, I want to recommend that before you start investing, ensure you have your emergency fund set aside. Do not invest until you have an emergency fund already set aside. So the second to the last thing you need to do is what I call investment. Now, I'm very sure you are not new to the concept of investment, and on this platform I talk about several means of investment which you can adopt to generate passive income for yourself. One of the most popular topics I talk about is stocks. Now, there are different categories of stock. We have the growth stock, we have the dividend stock, and so on. Now, depending on your objective, you can choose to go for either growth or dividend paying stock. Typically, I recommend that you have a mix between the growth and dividend paying stock, a certain percentage to growth and another percentage to dividend paying stocks. Other things you could invest in includes index funds such as the ETFs, that's exchange traded funds, mutual funds. You can also invest in real estate. You can purchase a home, rent it out for passive income, or you can go in the route of real estate investment trusts or crowdfunding. So there are other less common investment avenues which you can consider, such as the commodity market, treasury bills, and so much more. I'll be talking about them in my subsequent videos, so stay tuned and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of this. So the last thing you need to do to build wealth is to cut down on your unnecessary expenditures. I also call it discretionary expenditures. So for me, there are many things I identify as discretionary expenditures, such as dining out or my subscription payments and so on. Now what I try to do is analyze them on a month-by-month basis to determine if they are still necessary for me to keep incurring, or there are things I need to scrap or cut off from my budget. Now those are the things I believe you need to do today if you are confident about building wealth over time or into the long term. Now if you're not doing any of these things, I would recommend you start doing them today. You don't actually have to start all at the same time, but continuously improve and achieve one additional one every month or every day, whatever the case may be. But the most important thing is you need to put yourself on that path to financial independence. Okay, thanks for taking the time to listen to me. If you got some insight and you enjoyed this, feel free to like and subscribe. And most importantly, if you have any questions regarding any of these things I mentioned today, please drop in the comments below and I'm going to respond to them as soon as I see them. Take care. Bye.